Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay at home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight. Got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet. Cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. I hope that you are warm and well fed and not freezing to death like I feel right now because I cannot seem to get warm, even though I'm sitting in a warm house. I swear you walk within about a foot and a half from any exterior wall in my house, and you can feel the cold just seeping in because of it just being such an old house.
I love it where my office is completely surrounded by either conditioned space or dirt because it's in the basement. So I got two walls. I'm in the corner. It's a solid dirt, so I don't lose any heat out there. And then all the other walls, it's conditioned space all around me. So really, I'm the most insulated place in the house, and I don't even have a vent in here.
Oh,
Um,
man.
I don't have anything, and it's still 70 degrees.
Jeez. Yeah,
Yeah.
this weather has been basically like give me a big blanket and I'm just gonna hibernate
And
until this
soup.
passes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Bring me hot tea and I'm good. I'll sit and watch episodes of Reacher and The Sopranos and all that kind of stuff while I try to stay
You know,
warm.
my kids don't really know what electric blankets are.
Oh,
They
really?
they don't because we never needed them in Georgia. And we haven't I've looked at buying them since we moved here, but the problem is it's hard enough to get them out of the bed sometimes.
Yeah.
And if it was a warm bed, like an actually warmed up by an electric blanket, I don't think I could. I think I'd have to like unplug it at an hour
Uh-huh.
before I needed to get up, you know?
Where did all the warmth go?
What happened? It's freezing now. It's not freezing now. It's just not overly heated now. Yeah.
You have kids peeing the bed because you've unplugged their electric blanket.
Got cold. What happened?
Oh my goodness, it is so cold out. Yeah. And I'll tell you, it's been interesting because I've been curious of what some of the dads have been doing to try to, you know, if they've gotten their kids out. And it's interesting the different areas of the country. You know, you got some dads who it's like, all right, bundle up and let's go. And other dads who are like, I am not leaving this place. So
Hmm.
I completely understand. Just, it's one of those things where it's like, if you have the right gear, great, you can do it. I think I heard actually where the kids with the most grit are from I think it's I don't know if Anchorage or Fairbanks, Alaska, something like that.
Sure.
Because apparently at their schools, if it's -20 or hotter or warmer, it's hotter, -20 or warmer, they actually still go outside and play, have recess and everything. And I'm like, no, but those kids, yeah, um,
Yeah,
those are
well, I
the
mean,
kids
you
that
get
grow.
used to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And those are the kids that, are eventually going to go on to be like, come down south here and be like, this is nothing. Like, we got
Mhm.
things going on. Like, I remember when, kind of deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's, every region's different. And I think I can appreciate just that fact.
It's really interesting to me to see again coming from Georgia. And if it was below, I think 30, but it might have even been 40, we wouldn't go outside for recess.
Oh, really?
We just wouldn't. It was not a reasonable cold, but it's talking about elementary school kids. So you're talking about second, third, fourth graders. Yeah, they don't
Right.
bundle up as well. They
Can
definitely get wet when they're not supposed to,
You can barely get them
So
to
I
wear
get it.
coats to school, that kind of
Right.
thing.
Right. And here, like I got up yesterday morning and the morning before, and I actually drove my older kids just the eighth of a mile to the bus stop. I mean, it's right there. I could throw a rock maybe and hit it, but it was a negative 20 something wind chill. And I just thought, I don't want my kids standing out at the bus stop freezing to death. I mean, we have gear, but I just, no, I don't think I don't want to do that to them.
Yeah.
But we parked, and there's a a young kid, I shouldn't say young kid, but there's a high school kid who walks by in front of us from somewhere over down at the end of the subdivision. And I don't even
Somewhere
know which house he
over
lives in.
yonder.
Over yonder, at least a quarter mile before another, could be anywhere up there, and goes walking past the truck in the bus stop and goes down to the next bus stop because that's the one he's always gone to. And they said he's just used to it. And I'm like, should we maybe ask if he wants to sit in the truck with us? And Fabian was like, yeah, I wouldn't. He's gonna just say no and keep walking. That's just it's just part of living here. You have to suffer just a little when it's cold. And I went, man, I don't want to suffer at negative 27. I don't mind suffering at even 0 is not that bad, but that wind chill, man.
It's like, hey,
No.
Dad, don't point out the fact that we didn't grow up around here any more than we need
Don't
to.
make it so obvious,
You're
right?
like,
Yeah.
hey, you want to come in here? You look cold. Are you new to this area? Like,
Right. This isn't cold.
do you know where you are? Because I do.
Yep. I mean, it won't even get into double digits this week. It might Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just going to be, the top is 9. I think tomorrow it gets up to 9 degrees and like it's -3 now and what have you. And I don't know. I think it's too cold. I think I just stay inside and run to the car, zip the car over to wherever I'm going, run into the place, leave.
Yeah.
I went shopping yesterday and everybody left their car running. And I went, I don't know if I can do. I only have one set of keys for this car because getting a new set of keys is like $500 or something. I don't know if you know, but it's a special fob key or whatever that you have to, I don't think, go to the
Yeah.
dealership and pay $500 just to have an extra key, which I should really, because if I lose that key, I'm
Well,
screwed.
what about the keyless or start? Like, you know how you can just like start the
Mhm.
car up and warm it up.
I
wonder
think
if
it
maybe-
only lasts for 10 minutes.
Yeah, still though. I mean, if you got to
I'm
run
gonna
in
go
for 50
shopping, man.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
But yeah, but when I stopped, all the cars around me were running and nobody was in them, and I thought, should I leave my truck running so the block doesn't freeze? I mean, is that where we're at right today? Because it's really cold. Do I need to do that? And I thought, nah, it'll be fine, won't it? Come on, I'm only going to be in there for 20 minutes. So, but I seriously looked at it and I called Marnie later. I'm like, should I have left it running? And she said, yeah, you should always leave your truck running. It's just, it's fine. I'm like, I can't. I'll come back and it's gone.
Exactly, right?
I just
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about? But that's evidently very, very common. I mean,
That's life.
literally every car I went by was running
Yeah.
when I walked in the store. All of them were, and I'm like, ooh, I may have made a Southern boy mistake and go back and my truck is cracked in half.
Well, did you hear about what happened up in Chicago with the cold? What was going? No. So the other day, I mean, it's been so cold up there. I think it's been like, I mean, you're not too far from there, so you get it. But
Mhm.
everybody's been on this kick of like, oh, we need to get electric cars and do all this stuff. And I'm very much like, I don't need an electric car until they get the infrastructure in the country figured out for that. But that's a whole other political soapbox I won't even get on. But
Appreciate it.
I think that it's been pointed out now pretty well with what took place up in Chicago. So basically, you have all these people who own Teslas and other electric vehicles, and they're taking them and trying to get them charged. However, it's so cold that the charging stations don't even work. They're frozen.
Ooh.
And so they're
Wow.
it's like a Tesla graveyard in these parking lots where you're supposed to be able to charge your. So like I've seen videos of it where they're just like 30 Teslas sitting in a parking lot. And you're just like
Waiting for it to warm up.
I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, like if I saw that going on, I probably wouldn't have pulled in there and tried to do the same thing kind of thing. But still at the same time, like, yeah, I'm just like, I'll keep my gas electric, my hybrid. At least I know I can get it started in the cold or whatever. But I had no idea. I was like, I can't believe that those things freeze up like that.
That doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, what's freezing up? What is going on? Why would it do that? Because surely this isn't the first year we've had cold weather in Teslas. I mean, they
Yeah, I
had
don't
to
know.
have figured this out. But like you said, very, very important point is there's no infrastructure.
Right.
We're not ready for it, and we need to be. And I wish we were, but Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I see the
that's kind
progress
of
in it and
funny.
the part, yeah, it's nuts. Well, I mean, if you think about it too, like, if you take like your cell phone or even a computer or whatever, and it's in like a cold area for a long period of time, like say for instance, like you left your laptop in the car or whatever when it was cold, it won't turn on. The battery gets too cold, and that's what they're dealing with, I think, in this situation is just that lithium battery or whatever it is. Like it just gets
Yeah.
too cold, and it doesn't have the ability to to do anything.
The Chicago area Tesla charging stations lined with dead cars in the
Yep.
freezing cold. A bunch of dead robots out there is what the quote is. It's hilarious. Not
This is
hilarious. Like I'm not laughing at Tesla owners or that. That's horrible because I can't imagine what I would do if my car was suddenly I couldn't refill it with gas. It's just
right.
done.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, what do I do with that? That's terrible for people, especially if they have, kids to take care of and things like that. But at the same time, that's hilarious. That's the situation is
Hey, you know
hilarious.
what though? When the robots start to take over, I know what I want. I don't need a flamethrower. I don't need a gun with bullets. All I need is a freeze gun.
Freeze gun.
That
Cryo generator.
freeze it all up. Yep, that'll solve the problem.
I often, I shouldn't say often, I have thought in the past about zombies
Oh,
in like zombie apocalypse because the movies are watching, you kind of go, well, that's kind of an interesting premise. What might happen? What would happen in a place like this, Wisconsin, where if you're outside, you freeze solid. I mean, if you were a zombie, you probably you would drive around in a place like this in the winter and see zombies, just statues frozen everywhere.
that's
And
why the Walking Dead had to take place down in Georgia, so they didn't have to write that part into the story.
they could keep the smell going.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, man, man, yeah, but yeah, oh. But I
Hey,
love that it was
yeah.
there because I recognized everything. That
Oh
was
yeah.
cool. I'm like,
Well, there you
oh, I know
go.
where that camper's sitting. Yeah, I've been there. It's cool.
Hey, last
Yeah.
night
Mhm.
I saw where there was a group of you guys on Discord doing some RPG stuff.
Yep, yep, yep.
What was that like? Because that seemed to be like the first time something like that's taken place.
Yeah, that's our first official game night. And we did play Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. And it was great. We had Dane Samus, who's one of our members, but also owns the Bearded Dragon Inn. He's a professional dungeon master and he teaches people how to run games. And he volunteered his time and a lot of effort, I believe, to run the game last night and kind of get it set up. He's not going to run every game. We're definitely looking for other people to run games, but he's kind of overseeing everything and helping. Like we have a volunteer next week who's going to run the game, who's only run for his kids,
Okay.
and Dane was like, "Hey, I'll be here. I'll help you get set up. I'll get everything you need, and then I'll play." And that'll be very cool for Dane because he doesn't get to play very
I
often.
was
He
gonna
always
say,
says
yeah,
to
if you're
run
a
the
dungeon
game, right?
master, you don't
Yeah.
typically get to play. So yeah.
Yep, yep. So and then next week, the week after that, actually the 30th, yeah, the 30th, I think, somewhere in that area, we're going to do a game called Starfinder, which is a sci-fi role-playing game,
Okay.
um, and it's based on a very popular system called Pathfinder, which is my personal favorite for the Dungeons and Dragons fantasy type role-playing games, more so than 5th edition, but it's just way more complicated. There's a lot more to it.
Okay.
And I want to say a shout out to Joe, our new member, Joe Zook. Joe,
Yeah,
I'm
I've
sorry, I
seen
can't
his
remember your
name
last
pop up
name.
quite a
So
bit
I think
on
it's Zook,
Discord.
yeah. And he's out in Colorado, right? He got a couple kids and first time playing, right? So my geek foo is strong. His is much stronger. Right. He shows up on the call because we did video call, right? And he's wearing the Rebel pilot
Oh,
jumper
okay.
as like a onesie. And I don't know if it was a hoodie or if it was actually full onesie, but he shows up wearing and you look at it, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, your geek foo is strong, buddy. And he turns his camera and he's like, yeah, the whole room. And his whole room is Star Wars stuff.
Wow.
So he definitely wants to play the Star Wars role playing game, which is pretty cool. Edge of the Empire is I think the latest iteration of it, and yeah, that's a fun game too. But he used to be a math teacher, right?
Okay.
And so there's math involved in D&D. It's not huge math, but it's still, addition, subtraction, things like that. And you're looking when you're in, say, like a combat or when you're in a skill check, you're looking to hit a certain number. It's your difficulty class, it's your DC, right? And that's basically if my roll plus my skill points is greater than that, then I win or I hit. If your AC, your armor class is 10 and I roll an 11, I hit you. 10 or higher, I hit you, right? So when you're playing, you have a certain number you have to roll to hit the creatures you're fighting, right?
Okay.
It's their AC. And I saw him sitting there calculating both what the probable AC is of the creature and what he's got to roll to hit it, and then also how many hit points they probably had. Because there were 3 goblins, and he was like, "Do we know how many hit points they have?" And we're like, "No, we really don't." He's like, "Okay," and he starts going, and at the end of the battle, I'm like, "Hey, man, how many hit points did they have?" And he's like, "Well, they had to be between this and this." And I'm like, "Yes, I love math, man. I love it. I love it that you're tracking it because it's such a professional geek thing to do."
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be deep in there when you're really concerned about doing that. And it's like the statistics that you have with your favorite football player, baseball player, something like that. Their stats, right? And you know what they need to do to up and what have you. And us geeks getting in there and doing it. And him being a math teacher, used to be a mathlete.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, all right, let's go. Yeah.
That's
so
legit.
It was great meeting
Yeah.
him. Yeah, it's him and Chris Matthews and I playing. Again, we're going to play every every Tuesday, and we may start a second night as well, but that's for our organization. So any of our members that are listening,
yeah, I was going to
get
ask
with us on Discord. And
I was going to ask that as someone who is a complete novice, like never even touched anything RPG other, like like I'm thinking RPG, and for some reason, like I immediately go to like video games, like just like I'm thinking like first person shooter.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, for anybody who's like, I wouldn't mind, like I would feel comfortable, playing with these guys. Like I feel like they would, teach me some things and be that kind of deal, which that's exactly what the group's all I feel like has always been. Even when you go to Home Dad Con and they're like, "Hey, we're doing this. Like, if you've never played before, like, come hang out and play."
Gatekeeping. We're not. Yeah. We just everybody get on and play. Joe had never played together. Played before. And we played together, and he was great.
Would it be? Would it be good for somebody that's in that position to reach out to one of you guys, or even in just that Discord and just say, "Hey, like, I want to play. I have never played. Like, what should I do to prepare?"
Bingo. Yep.
So that I don't walk into this and be like, "Hey guys."
Yeah. Well, the thing is, especially with 5th edition, it's very easy to learn. It's kind of more simplified rules, so it's easy to get into.
Okay.
I'm not calling it simplistic. I don't mean that, but it's of all the tabletops you might want to start with, that one's probably the most accessible.
Okay.
Right. So starting new is great. And every year at the convention, especially, we have multiple games we play. People that have never even touched the die. They don't even know what they're doing. They just want to hang out and have fun. And it's like any board game, short of, well, maybe not Monopoly, but like most board games, though, like Carcassonne or whatever you're playing, Catan, all of that. When someone new comes in, you want to teach them how to be the best player they can be. Right.
Yeah.
You generally, especially like for us, we've been playing with our kids, and of course we can beat our kids, just like,
right. Yeah.
So I want somebody to come in and get and help me play, help me enjoy this game and maybe win and things like that. And D&D is collaborative. That's what it's for. It's all of us get together and we tell a story. We write a story together. And whether that's, combat heavy or no combat at all, or wherever you want to take it, that's what we're doing. So you bring anybody new to the table and there's a place for them. There really is.
I think anybody that's watched like, like Lord of the Rings, Narnia, that kind of stuff where you're off on a quest, like that's pretty much like the live action version of like an RPG. Cause the goal is to take down, the bad guy, that kind of thing. And you don't want anybody in your crew to die along the way. And so, but yeah, it seems like a lot of fun. eventually I would love to try it because my curiosity like every week seems to get piqued with just the conversations that we have about it.
Mhm.
And then to like it seems like too that people are going to like breweries and playing. They'll set up and have fun playing there too. And so that's another thing that is intriguing to me as well. But
Yeah.
what's the time frame look like for playing like a game?
Eastern, we're running, these are all one shots, so like 1, 2, well, probably an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Okay.
Is what we're playing. They start at 8 Eastern right now on Tuesdays. We're willing to adjust that, let's say. Depending on how many people want to play, like I said, we might even open up another night, but it's generally I keep trying to switch back to Eastern, 8 to 10 Eastern on
Okay.
Tuesday nights.
That's cool.
So,
No, that's
and
great,
they
man.
may start it a little bit later because people are like, oh, I got to get my kids in bed and whatever. Yeah, of course. Let's do it. Can we do it? Start it at 9? Okay. We can start it at 9.
Yeah.
We'll see
I
how that
imagine you
works.
probably don't want distractions while you're playing so that you can
Yeah.
enjoy it.
It's not a huge issue, to
I
be
mean, it
honest.
happens.
It happens. Yeah. We used to play with our Marnie and I used to play with our friends in Georgia, and they have 12 kids. It's always an interruption.
Oh
There's
yeah.
always somebody coming in and saying something, needing something, doing something. And that's just part of it. You're a
Okay.
parent and a gamer. So, we had kids come in the game last night, but nobody, you just mute your mic and deal with what you got to deal with and
Yeah.
get back to the game.
So
So
do you have to like move your camera so that you can see what you roll or how do you, or is it an honor code system for
it's
rolling?
just an honor code because honestly, the maturity level is pretty high with the guys that we deal with. Most of our dads, most of our members, most of the people that probably come to the game are, I don't want to say older necessarily, but definitely more mature.
Yeah.
And you make a bad roll, you make a bad roll. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
I rolled and ended up with a 0 at one point because I rolled bad and I had bad stats for it. And I went, he's like, so it was for initiative. So it's when you go in
Oh
combat,
no.
higher is better. And I went, I have a goose egg. He said, what? I'm like, a 0. I have a 0. He said, really? I'm like, yeah, I rolled a 1 and I have a -1. And so I have 0. I'm going with nobody. I'm going by myself. Yeah, it was funny, but but that's the best stories if you think about it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, that's something that's got
That's
me. Remember the time you
every
rolled bad?
failing. Well, it's like if you think back to like your high school years or college years when you're out there making all those were your funniest things that have ever happened
Oh
to you.
yeah, definitely.
Right. So it's the same way with this. And honestly, if someone was fudging their roll, you wouldn't know it,
Yeah.
but that's fine. I mean, if you get somebody at your table and all they want to do is to be the best of the best of the best and win every single time and they're going to cheat to do it, you'll
Mhm.
figure that out pretty quick.
Yeah.
You kind of yeah, there's no way you rolled that,
No one's that
Um,
lucky.
it's just yeah, we're gonna have to see the dice on that one. And sometimes you are really lucky. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had the greatest story, and this is for all my D&D peeps out there. We were fighting a Tarrasque, which is an unkillable immortal monster. It really is. And I saw the guy beside me. He had what they were called Vorpal weapons, and a Vorpal weapon has a chance to cut off a creature's head if it rolls a natural 20.
Oh wow.
That's just what a Vorpal weapon does, but you have to confirm it. So he rolled 2. He goes, I'll guys, I'm gonna save you some. I'll try to run now, and I'll stay and kill or get killed, but it'll give you another chance to get away. And I'm like, oh, that's so heroic. We appreciate it. And he rolled 2 20s right there in front of us, and this is the noise. He goes, ah, like a mouse had run across him or something, and like what? And he goes, look, and the DM he goes, no way, and leans over, and it's 2 20s.
Wow.
So he rolled a 20 to crit and then a 20 to confirm, and realistically, there's the math kind of loses its sense at that point. But the DM goes, wow, okay, yeah, you cut off its head completely. And its head falls down and it starts to heal itself because that's what will happen. But we all got away. It's like, we beat your Tarrasque. What's the XP on that one? He's like, no, you're not getting XP. This was not, you weren't even supposed to go in here. this is a story thing. You were supposed to do this, and then but you for whatever reason wanted to fight the Tarrasque, and but it was one of those things that was the best roll I've ever seen, and I still remember it. Well, almost yeah, it's probably 20 years later.
Oh wow, that's
It was
cool.
just one of those great moments.
Now, do you have to have a D20 dice to play, or can you just use your regular dice out of
Virtual's
like
good.
your Yahtzee?
Yeah. No, you need a few more polyhedrons.
Oh,
There's virtual dice is the easiest way to do it.
oh, okay. So
You
like you
can
can just like
plenty of
Google
apps.
search
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And
that's
if you
cool.
play on a virtual tabletop, like I generally play on Roll20, and it's just basically a virtual tabletop that we can all see a map or all see the same picture or whatever. And if you do that, it's got its own roll system. Discord, you can put a bot in Discord that'll roll for you,
Oh, really? That's
which we
cool.
may end up doing that. But most players like to have a set of dice
Yeah.
or like 9 sets of dice.
Did anybody
And
have like
just
a roll tower or anything like
no,
that
I
last
didn't
night?
see one. I didn't
No.
see one.
That's becoming
No.
the big thing too. Like especially if you have like a 3D printer, you can print
Mhm.
these very elaborate
Right.
dice rolling things. Those are really cool. And I've seen people build them too out of wood.
hmm Yeah, they're great. And it's such a neat little part of the hobby, you
Yeah.
know, because your dice are like I have, I don't think I have 100 sets of dice, but I'm probably close. I just
Yeah.
I love dice and I keep buying them for no good reason. I don't need any more dice. I need one set, maybe
Yeah.
two if I want to let somebody and I've got 70. I mean, it's just dumb, but it's kind of like it's almost a collectible. It's like, oh,
Sure.
I want
Yeah.
these shiny new dice, right?
Well, I've seen where
Um,
people like will bring like a set of dice to give somebody like, oh,
yeah,
I found these in a store and they reminded me of you, or
right.
hey, like I knew that you enjoy these colors or whatever it is. And like
Yep.
like I've seen that multiple times happen
hmm
at Home Dad Con, which I think is just really cool because it is it's like kind of this like geeky gift, but at the same time, like there's
hmm
actual like, reason behind it, which
Practical
is
use. Yeah.
so cool. So yeah. I yeah, so the dice thing that's cool. I'm very that I didn't realize that you guys used the digital, so that's helpful.
Yeah.
I think
Digital is a lot easier.
yeah. I was what was I thinking? Like this this whole realm of things, like I've been around it. It's kind of interesting. I feel like I've like walked the fence,
hmm
like peeked in from the outside, like quite a bit of different people doing it. And it just seems like people really enjoy it. It's a lot of imagination. It's got a lot of, just like I like watching TikToks where they talk about it now. Like that
hmm
intrigues me. And I find it very entertaining because different like either you're watching a group of people who maybe they're reacting like you said to somebody who rolled something amazing, or somebody's character gets killed off type of deal too, because
Yep.
seeing that's pretty dramatic.
Yep.
I saw where recently there was a video, a guy had he's like something about like this is the worst dice to use to like curse somebody with, and it was like a D19 dice or something, and he was talking through like how it works, and I'm like, that's interesting. And he showed another one too, which was really cool. It was like a hockey puck type of style, and it had a bunch of dice inside of it, and you could spin it. And then there was like one like white marker, and like so you'd have I don't know how many ever were in there. You spin that sucker, and it just randomly goes through, and then it stops on one. And I was like, that's a really kind of fun sort of almost look like a fidget spinner type of deal.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
just stuff like that was just pretty wild. So I think it's interesting that people have kind of really thought outside of the box of how do we roll, like what kind of things
hmm
can we do to roll? And so what do you have any very like interesting type of things like that? Do you or are
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
yeah?
My die box, there's two things that I think are my favorites. One is a set of dice that are, they're basically a cylinder with edges flattened, right? So
Okay.
I mean, they're only like an inch long, but you roll them, and as opposed to them being a cube or something, it's a cylinder, and whatever comes up and they don't roll well. They're not good for playing, but it's like bones almost.
Yeah.
and you take them and you just shake them with your hand and drop them on the table, and you see players are like, oh crap, what was that? What are those for? Well, that's what the bad guy's using or something. And it just kind of gives it that mystique of what? No, what's wrong? And I just like them because of that uniqueness.
Yeah.
So I've got that one. That's my kind of nerdy one. And then the other one is a handmade ceramic coin that my second wife actually made. And she scripted it all the way around the edges so that it's got the parallel lines all around it, so it looks like a coin does. And then it's got, death and life on it and what have you. And it's just a big, like maybe inch and a half in diameter coin that every once in a while you need to flip a coin.
Yeah.
You just get to a point, you're like, well, I'll tell you what, it's either going to hit you or you. So I'm going to ask you, heads or tails, and you flip it, and and it's just kind of a neat little thing that you do. So
that's cool.
Those are probably my favorite weird dice.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got 100-sided dice.
Oh wow,
that's terrible. I hate it because you can't. The numbers are so small. Even when I was young and my eyes were good, you roll it and you're like, "Is that there's like 9 numbers that could be." I think it's a 4. I mean, you just kind of, because there's just so many numbers on it and so many sides. But it's a neat little nerdy thing to have. Oh, I got 100-sided die. Why?
Is that a golf ball?
What are you gonna do with it? It's huge. It's almost the size of a baseball.
Well, no, I was just meaning like it's got all these dimples.
Oh, yeah, little dimples on it. Yeah.
Kind of deal. Like that's wild.
It's what it looks like. It's like, why? I can't even read this, but it's still fun,
I think I would want glass dice.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it was somebody who had maybe done like a glass blowing kind of deal, like because you can basically just drop the molten glass like into, I think that would make an interesting looking dice set, and I'm sure they probably have that out there too. I'm sure somebody's come up with that.
And so many people make resin dice.
That's a big one.
Resin dice, yeah. And those are sharp edged. It's hilarious how sharp those are. But yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's just, all of mine have been, because I've had people send me some and I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I could cut myself. That's
oh, wow.
Neat.
I didn't realize
Not
that.
a razor blade, but definitely would poke you. Like,
okay.
It's kind of like a pencil could poke you, though. You just got to be careful with it.
Yeah.
So they're not dangerous.
Well, there you go. It's RPG is dangerous.
Bloodletting.
Well, that sounds like fun. So hopefully, guys, after hearing this, maybe they'll want to do it, and that'll continue to grow, because I know that is definitely a big fun thing to take place at Home DadCon as well. So might grow that also.
And we're doing game night starting 2 weeks out. I think we've got to get that set up as well, which is basically we're going to start with Jackbox Games, which is just a mobile app that it's free. Everybody uses it. One guy's got an account, and you join his game and you play all these neat little mobile games.
Is it a trivia game? Is that?
Some of them are trivia. Yep. There's a lot of like,
is it the same creators of You Don't Know Jack? That you remember that game from back in the day? That was a computer game. No, okay.
I do remember it. Yeah. But Jackbox is its own thing.
Okay.
They have their own games and stuff, but basically just an opportunity to just go hang out and play games with your fellow dads. So
that's fun. Yeah, I mean,
that's situated.
Because I mean, if you think about it, you don't get to do that. I know from time to time I'll Corey and I'll sit down and play games, just the two of us. But other than that, might be us and the kids. So. Which is fun too. We're teaching them strategy games and things like that now, so they're getting more into that. I mean, like Hezekiah is in like an after school deal for like an hour after school where they're doing strategy games.
Nice.
So yeah, he had fun. I forget what they played last week, but he was having all kinds of fun with it. He's got another one today, and then also too, like they're both Hezekiah and Ruby are doing baking classes. So
awesome.
And I just love it because it's like, schools these days don't have home ec and things like that. And they cook a lot here at the house anyways. So for them to be able to get a chance to do some baking and really hone that in, I think is going to be just fun, just more skills for them.
And it teaches you so much. I mean,
yeah,
especially if you look at fractions, Because if you're just looking at fractions while you're learning it, it's going, when will I ever use this?
Right?
Trust me, you're going to use it. Let's make cookies, and you need to know all your fractions, you know? So that's
Exactly.
great. That's great.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. So, hey, last time I think I was telling you that I've scheduled my surgery for my shoulder. Um, did I tell you that I moved the date recently? Did we
You
talk about
mentioned
that?
it. We did not talk about it here, but I think we mentioned it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it was I think it was that night that we recorded. I got an email from a local organization called Garage Brew, which they work with one of the local breweries here in town, Rheingeist. And Rheingeist is actually I think it's the seventh largest brewery in the country now, if I'm not mistaken. Like it's
Cool.
crazy. Yeah. And so they've done this motorcycle show for like 4 years now. And I've gone to it most of the time, most of the years, and it's a free show all day long. And they have all these entries and then they pick like 50 or so. This year, I guess they picked 70 different motorcycles to be in it, but I entered my Harley.
Mhm.
The one that I've talked about. Everybody jokes that I'm gonna ride it to Home Dad Con at some time, but
Yeah.
a little too cold and do that.
St. Louis.
Oh my gosh. I don't think it'll be, I mean, it'll be warmer, but not by much. Not enough. Um, but anyway, I entered it and they picked the bike to be in the show, and the show is on February 3rd. So my surgery was supposed to be on the 1st. So I called up my doc. I'm like, yeah, but to move this by a week. And they were like, all right, no problem. They didn't even question me on it, which I
Oh,
was like,
good.
really happy about. But yeah, so I'm gonna have that in that show, which I'm very excited about, and be around a bunch of other, motorcycles that,
Mhm.
just we all got our little things and stuff. So that's gonna be fun. So I'll do that and then I'll have my surgery.
Yep. That seems like priorities, in my opinion. That's good priorities.
It's gonna be a fun day. Let's just put it that way. I think it'll just be neat because it's like a 12-hour deal. Like they open at noon, they're open till midnight, and there's judging that goes on and just lots of people walking by. And so it'll just be kind of fun to have that interaction with everybody.
And I think we need to mention, because we've talked about it in the past, this year it's going to be a little bit different for you, but usually your motorcycle has a peg leg.
It still does, actually. It's
And
still
this year they're going to put it on a block though, right?
well, they're
Didn't you
talking.
say they were going to?
Well, there's the possibility that they'll put it on two kegs. So they've
Yeah.
got these like mechanisms that like attach to the wheel forks. And so that's my hope is that they put it on that because I think it'll look much better like up in the
Mhm.
air like that. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's what they do. Because yeah, otherwise, like as far as kickstands go, and I mean maybe they want to play on that part because I did put that in there. I was like, yeah, it's like it's got the loving nickname of peg leg. So maybe they want to show it off that way. I think that for like safety purposes, probably not the best option just because
Yeah.
people were going to be walking around and I'd hate for it to like get barely nudged and fall or whatever. That would
Yeah.
suck. So yeah, but yeah, that's it's gonna get that. Hopefully it's gonna get an actual kickstand here at some point. I've been searching that out and a couple other different items, which I get people that have like complete bikes, and I'm like, hey, do you want to part that out? And nobody wants to, of
Yeah.
course. So
Yeah.
that makes it much more difficult. I'll probably end up just having to put like some aftermarket like kickstand on it just so that it has something.
Mhm.
But yeah,
But still going for the contest. That's great.
yeah, going
Or
going for the
the show,
contest.
not the contest. I guess it's not a contest, right? It's a show.
It's just well, it's
Is it?
got a bit of a contest into it, but I mean, it's mainly a show. Like the contest is sort of like a bonus. Like people don't
Cool.
really enter into it it's like a people's choice type deal is kind of the fan
Yeah.
favorite. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so
Well,
that's
that's
so that's
beautiful.
coming up. Yeah. You know how we always talk about how groups of people like or well the guys, we always are encouraging them to, maybe find some local people around to connect with.
Mhm.
We at our church started doing these community groups. So we're not calling them Bible studies or small group or anything like that. We're calling them community groups because we want people like in the neighborhood, if they're just looking for a way to like connect with other people, to come to it.
Mhm.
Like we talk about like what's going on at church and stuff like that, but it's really just a space for people to come be around other people and feel supported and loved. And last night we had our first community group meeting here at the house, which was really fun. There was some families that we had never met before and some single people that we never met before. And
Nice.
yeah, it was really cool. We cooked dinner and sat around and talked and got to know each other. And it was fun because don't typically have like little kids here in the house. It's been a while. And one of the families have like a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old. And they were the 2-year-old
Yeah.
was all kinds of energy bouncing around, and it was so cute. And their the mom was like, "I'm so sorry." And we're like, "No, you don't need to apologize for parents,
Mhm.
for being a parent and like having kids that are little. Like it's not a big deal." And she had just never heard that before, and it was just so great to be able to just be like, "You don't have to feel any judgment. Like we're not judging you at all. Like in all
Mhm.
honesty, like we're actually just enjoying watching them bounce around the room and
Yeah.
and do things." So I just, to me, like that was, I was like, man, I was like, there are a lot of parents I think that just need to hear that. Like it's okay. Like if your kids are
Mhm.
just being like, it's one thing if they're being like disruptive in a way that's like, they're tearing the house down. That's one thing. But if they're just being kids and playing and whatever, like you shouldn't have to feel like, oh my gosh, like they're not being proper and they're doing all that. It's like, no, let them play. They're not hurting
Mhm.
anything.
Yeah. Easy.
And yeah, so it was nice to be able to just kind of like, one, experience that, and two, to be able to just like let them feel more at ease, I guess, with that. I'm like, because you go to church and kids do stuff like that, and a lot of times people will turn around and be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing that." I'm like I usually, if I hear like a kid like making sounds or whatever, like I just turn around to see what they're doing. I usually just give them a big smile because they're just
Mhm.
being
They're
silly.
being
So
kids. They're just, yeah.
exactly.
We've had, and we were in the Catholic Church.
Oh
All right.
gosh, yeah, I had
And
that
we
experience.
sat down and I mean, I think we had all four of our kids at the time, but one was, somebody was in a, we had to hold, somebody was a baby, one of the kids. So we were, at least three kids in, and we sat down. We try to sit in the back, it's just better, I think, in case we have to get up. Don't want to disrupt everybody.
Yeah.
And there was an older couple, grandparent age, in front of us. We sat behind, and they turned around and looked, got up, and moved forward about 6 aisles and sat down again. And I went,
Wow.
I'm going to have to go talk to those people. And Marnie's like, no, don't you dare. I don't know who they are. But I'm like, well, I'll know who they are when we're done, and they'll know me. And I'll just have to ask them. We're in the Catholic Church, that is known for
Yeah.
have as many babies as you can.
Yes.
Have lots and lots of babies. Keep having babies, right? No birth control, nothing. Just make the babies.
Yes. Be
And
rabbits.
You're not able to sit by little kids. How did you ever make it through, your life as a Catholic without being? I mean, just there's kids everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah.
It was. I mean, Marnie wouldn't let me go talk to him,
Mm.
which I still regret. I could have had such a good conversation with those people, but I guess I
think
didn't
that's
need.
see
more
that's why I
fight.
always thought, like, when the priests walk down the aisle and they have that thing that has water that goes out, like they're just making everything fertile. It's like the sower sowing the
Yep.
seed, sowing the
Have
seeds
more
type of deal.
babies.
Have
You
more,
have more babies.
yeah,
You have more babies.
yeah, exactly.
It's time for babies. Yeah. That
Yeah,
was
it's
hilarious.
I mean, yeah, it's like places like that. It's like, come on, the
Well, and
family restaurants, the same way.
that's the only time, right? Yeah, this is what you expect. This is, I mean, I remember one of the deacons came up to me at the first Catholic church that we went to, because I was not raised Catholic, and Fabian's just being Fabian, and he needs to move, he needs to go. He was loud, and I'm trying to keep him quiet. And the deacon comes over and leans over and he goes, "This isn't a library." And I'm like, sir? He goes, "Babies make noises. That's what they do. And
Nice.
nobody cares." And it was such, like you said, it's every parent, I think, needs to hear that
Yeah.
at some point. Just some more mature or further along the line person look at him and go, they can make noise.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a horrible person. It's okay that your baby is loud. That's what babies do,
Right. Right.
And again, if you go to a family restaurant, Or if you go to a movie in the middle of the day, I'm sorry, that's when parents take their kids.
Oh yeah, especially if it's a kids movie.
It's a kids movie. They're going to be there. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah,
So,
if you're offended when you go to a kids movie because kids are talking, like you
kids are there.
you need your head examined. Like that's just, expect that. Like if you didn't expect that, like what in the world? It's different if if you're gonna go see Saving Private Ryan and there's a kid talking. Like
Yeah.
like
Yep.
much different. Oh, I went to see Oppenheimer and there was a kid talking the
There
entire
was a
time.
kid talking.
Okay,
Yeah,
that I would be a
They
little.
should have been somewhere else. Yeah.
Exactly. So, yay. Well, anyway, this has been fun. I've enjoyed this conversation. This has been a good start to the day. So, yeah, we hope everybody else has a great week, and we'll talk to y'all next week. So, have a good one.
All right. Good night, everybody.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.